Kurt Kleidon is president of Kleidon and Associates, a marketing communication agency in Akron, Ohio. Kurt has more than 15 years of experience in marketing and media relations and comes with the experience of serving as a magazine editor and college teacher. In his professional capacity, Kurt focuses on marketing strategy and helping his clients find the right balance between digital opportunities and traditional marketing effort, which, by the way, happens to be the platform of the PR Maven podcast. So he's an ideal guest. With a background in storytelling, Kurt truly enjoys developing new ways to convey a message within all the possibilities that are available in social media and digital marketing. As the host of his own podcast, which is called 3 for 3, Kurt interviews business owners on tips and tricks that have helped them build a successful business. And I have been a guest on that podcast. Kurt is avid in his volunteer work in the Akron area and has a passion for helping organizations that aim to improve the lives of children. He is also a published writer and photographer with more than 100 articles and photos that have appeared in print in various magazines and journals. Welcome to the PR Maven podcast, a podcast all about growing your network and building your brand through traditional and digital networking techniques. I'm Nancy Marshall, the PR Maven and CEO of Marshall Communications. I've been strengthening brands through PR for over 35 years, and now I'm celebrating the success of executives, influencers, business owners, and entrepreneurs from all around the world, all of whom have cultivated their brands and broadened their networks through traditional and digital networking methods. Each week, I interview one of these interesting and influential individuals and provide an opportunity for you, the PR Maven Nation, to gain insights from their strategies and stories. So stay tuned for this week's episode, and thanks for listening. So, Kurt, to kick things off, tell us about your career and how you got into it in the first place.
Well, thanks, Nancy. So my career kind of went a few different directions to begin with. I started off as focusing on writing and creative writing, and in fact, I went to school for poetry. And during that time, I guess you could say the early parts of my career was spent on the university side. I was a college professor, taught English to students at the college level, and there was a lot of fun. I'm a son of two college professors, and always loved that atmosphere of learning and expanding what you have in your head there. And so when I wrapped up that part of my career, I went in. I kind of came back to the Akron, Ohio area, kind of tried to figure out what I was going to do next, and happened to come across a publisher who was hoping to start a arts and entertainment magazine in my area, and it was a good fit for what I was hoping to do as well. I love the kind of the creative nonfiction writing, which is an extension of journalism. And so he hired me to be the editor of this magazine, which was called Akron Life and Leisure. It's now called Akron Life, but it was nice to be on the opening end of a publication like that. And it was a great chance to be able to meet professionals out there. I interviewed people like Katie Couric and President Ford, and a lot of local artisans and leaders in the Akron area during that. And a few years after that, I was approached by my family, and they said, if you were interested, now's a good time to join the family business, which is where I'm currently at, which is the Kleidon and Associates marketing, and that's where I've been ever since.
Well, of course, I've been part of an agency network originally with your parents, Dennis and Rose. We started the network back in 1999. And so it's been a pleasure for me to see the transition of your agency from your parents to your reign, so to speak. And I admire your family for being able to carry on because, I've talked about it with my two sons, and they're not really interested in ever working with their mother for some reason. I don't know why. But in any case, I think it's been a beautiful thing watching how Kleidon and Associates has gone from one generation to the next.
Well, I'm sure it's been interesting seeing not only that, but how our industry as a whole has changed. That probably goes back 15, 20 years since you've known my parents, and the whole industry has just completely changed from that time, as you know. And not only have we seen that change in leadership, but change of focus on what we do.
Well, in along those lines, I mean, the way that our industry has changed to it has been more to focus on content, and that's what your skill is content creation. I mean, you majored in poetry in college, and then you taught writing, and you were an editor of a magazine, so creating content is in your nature, I think.
Well, what I like about what's happening right now is that most people don't see it this way, but essentially, what we're all doing here is we're creating content, but really it's storytelling, and that's not that different than what I my passion was. When you get into creative writing, you want to tell a story, you want to get something across, and now we have the ability to do it in all these different formats. And I think that when it first came about, I thought, oh no, this is terrible because the traditional means of publishing were going away. I thought, and this is what I was trained in. And then I thought, well, no, this is an opportunity. Now we can storytell with things like podcasts and doing short videos and just strictly audio or photo stories. I mean, there's just so many different ways you can tell a story, and the opportunities are just. I think it's just really exciting time to be able to love to tell a good story.
I agree, absolutely. And another thing is, I've noticed that there's sort of a blurring of the lines between advertising, PR, and marketing. And of course, again, your agency has a history of being in the advertising business. You have a history of being in PR. And I feel like this new storytelling and building an audience and serving up content to your audience, again, is right in your lane.
Well, as you know, PR I think is the linchpin to all of this change of technology, because it's you can be a good storyteller, but if you don't understand how you can control that message through a background in PR, then you're not really doing it effectively. And I think about there's been, and you've probably seen this as well, these little pop up shops that do social media experts, and so on. And I look at them and I think, you know what? Yeah, they know how to work a platform such as a Twitter or Snapchat or what have you. But do they really have a background in PR? And I think that's the key to when we talk about client success, being able to think about it that way.
I would agree. As the PR maven, and since we're on the PR Maven podcast, I would agree that having a PR background and basing everything in research, and then, as I said, identifying your messages and your audiences, I think is the linchpin to successful marketing. But Kurt, if you had it to do all over again, what would you do differently, if anything?
Well, I think I would probably I would take more risks. I would take more chances. I think a lot of people say stuff like that, but I think especially as when it comes to embracing technology, as I said, when I kind of came out of my career as in the academic sense, as a writer, that was 2002, and it was just before the technology boom kind of came back here, especially with social media. And I didn't necessarily look at that and say, look at the opportunities. I was maybe more defensive of it. So I think what I would do if I were to do it different was just to jump on things a little bit faster. And as you look at the different tools and they keep popping up that you can use for publishing or getting your message out there, it's all just a blank slate. So just like any artist, you take a blank slate and you create something on it, and you don't worry about whether it's great or it stinks. You just do it and see what happens with it and see where it takes you.
I like that analogy of an artist. And of course, your father, Dennis, is an accomplished artist. And now in his retirement, he's creating even more art, isn't he?
He is, yes. He just got finished with a show in New York City, and he's got shows coming up in various other cities across the country. So, yeah, if any of the listeners out there hear the name Dennis Kleidon and it's in your neighborhood, go check it out because he's doing some great things.
Well, we'll put a link in the show notes so that people can admire his art. And so, Kurt, can you give me an example of how PR and social media have helped to advance you personally, your organization, or a client?
Well, since I'm in the business of it, I mean, there's plenty of cases where it's helped us on a professional level. But I think for me personally, it comes down to I'm not really great with remembering names. Good with faces, but if I see something written down, I can remember someone's name. So I will, if I meet you at a networking event, I'm really quick to connect with you on LinkedIn, not just to continue networking, but so that remember your name. So that's one of the things that's helped me the most, just being able to put faces to names, and next time I meet them, be able to remember who that is. And do you have that same issue, Nancy, or are you good with names and faces?
I'm pretty good with names. I'm so extroverted and I'm so curious about people that I really do try to learn about them, and in learning more about them, kind of their name is sort of the headline for me. But I also connect pretty quickly on LinkedIn when I meet someone. And actually, I was pretty proud of my son Craig the other night because he and I went to a networking event in Boston together that was put on by the Korean consulate of the city of Boston, and he has just gotten into insurance sales. And I noticed, like throughout the evening, as we were meeting people, he was Google he no not Google LinkedIn searching them, and yeah, I thought, wow, this is nice to see that he's picked that habit up too, because LinkedIn obviously is just such a powerful platform, and I think there's so much that we can be doing for networking with LinkedIn. But I also wanted to mention that one of the clients that you're working with is the Amish community and the Amish furniture builders. And I think it's interesting, to take a traditional culture like the Amish and be doing social for them. Is that something that you're doing at Kleidon and Associates?
Yeah, we have jumped into that, and I think it's been an interesting twist to the whole aspect of it. The Amish, as most people know, are I think the best way to put it is they are hesitant to jump into something that is technologically moving forward. And it's not that so. In general, in the Amish, there's people will do one thing, another group of people will do another thing. No good way to just stereotype what the Amish do. So I say that as my disclaimer, because there's plenty that are forward thinking, and there's also plenty that are very conservative. And but that's been, I think, an interesting challenge to bring to the table. And at this point, many of the whether it's an Amish-owned business or talking about tourism in general, we've said, well, this is a good way to tell the story about your culture and how you work and how you think, and be authentic about it. For the Amish in particular, there is so much misinformation. You get these kind of junky TV shows that tell these false stories about a culture. We have a chance to now drive that story by using technology and social media.
Well, I admire you with doing that. I think it must be so fascinating. We have Amish communities in Maine now, and I was talking with some people at the Windsor Fair recently. They were selling their wares there, and there's a farm in Whitefield, Maine called the Happy Farm. And of course, I'm such a happy person. I was drawn to that and I enjoyed talking to them about living at the Happy Farm. As a matter of fact, I'd kind of like to move there myself.
I think you've got a new venture there, Nancy.
Yeah. Oh, I guess I know I'm reminded of being on your podcast, 3 for 3, when and you can tell us a little bit about your podcast, but one of the challenges you have is that you tell a joke, or you tell 3 jokes, and then if the person doesn't laugh, they win the prize. So I really wanted to win the prize.
Well, I won't take any attention away from your wonderful podcast here, but I would think that was one of the biggest surprises, that you weren't able to that I didn't get wasn't able to get you laugh at my jokes. And but what I learned from this, if anyone's out there and you're in a betting atmosphere with Nancy Marshall, is that be careful, because she is competitive and she will do anything it takes to win. that bet, even if it's just a $5 Starbucks card.
Yeah,
So
right. Yeah. I still carry that card around in my wallet as a reminder. And yeah, I do like to rise to a challenge, and I kind of yeah, inside of my happy exterior is a very competitive human. So Kurt, I know that PR marketing and certainly social media have changed drastically over the course of my career. What techniques are you using now that you were not using when you started out?
I mean, gosh, it's one of those things that changes so often, and we've kind of gone through different stages. One of the things that I enjoy doing professionally here at Kleidon Associates is looking at. Yeah, I'm going to talk specifically on social media. Is using more creativity when it comes to crafting the message. We've really gotten into using some unique illustrations and different visual approaches to it. What I'm seeing is that so many folks are jumping into a platform on social media and they're just saying, "Well, I'm doing social media," and they get lazy with it. They put across messages, and there's just nothing unique to it. And so, when you do that, you're just adding more conversations out there that don't mean anything. They don't have any standout quality to them. So, it's something that I think always has to keep evolving. You have to keep coming up with a really unique, creative set of messagings that people are going to react to. So we've seen that change, not just doing the technology, but doing it in a way that I think adheres to the values of what marketing is all about, which is standing out from the crowd.
I like that. We're actually working with a nonprofit client right now and creating a social media calendar and trying to tap into people who have their own networks, so that when the nonprofit actually posts the posts that we're creating for them, they will be able to tag these people and then broaden their network. So I think that's one of the like most amazing features of social media is that it is social. And if you have a good strategy behind your social media, you can really build a brand by broadening the network, which actually happens to be the premise of this podcast is using in-person and social media or online networking to build a brand. So thanks for saying that. And I do think there is so much creativity that can go into a social media strategy. And of course, I like to think of the possibilities too. So, what have been some of the obstacles to success, Kurt, in your career, and how have you overcome them?
Well, I think I'll tie into what we're just talking about here, and then that means what I want to connect here is I think that one of the obstacles is trying to convince others when you're trying to sell them on a message, which is what we do in marketing. You sell someone on a technique or a message here, trying to let people realize that having a twist on your brand, giving it personality, is not something that you should be afraid of. It's not. This is the heart of it. So I walk into many client meetings where the owner, the marketing director, whoever we're working with, wants to achieve a goal. They want to have more sales or they want to drive more donations for the nonprofit organization. But there is an inherent fear of doing something that's different than what they're seeing out there, which I think is key to making more of an impact on a greater scale. That can be very hard, even if we've got a absolutely on point kind of message or approach or campaign that is we know is going to have a great impact. Trying to convince someone to make that change, which is hard. We all know that. I think on a business front, uh, we tend to take the conservative route. We don't want to shake the boat too much. If we've got an established business, we want to make sure that whatever existing relationships we have with our clients stay that way. But it's good to step outside that at least once in a while.
I agree. Absolutely. It keeps things interesting. And, every day is a, is a new day and a new adventure. So, Kurt, we're going to take a short break here. We're going to come back and continue our conversation. But I want to share some exciting news with PR Maven Nation. We have created a listener line, and our listeners in PR Maven Nation can now call in at 207-620-9075 and ask me anything. You can ask questions, share feedback, share ideas for the podcast, including who you'd like to hear as guests on the show in the future. So I look forward to hearing from you and sharing those comments. And right now, we're going to take a quick break and be back in just a moment. This podcast is all about growing your network in order to strengthen your brand. In my 30-plus year marketing and PR career, I have seen many organizations waste their precious time and money on marketing because they're trying to obtain success without any strategy to achieve their goals. So many organizations and companies suffer from what I call the shiny object syndrome, trying every new fad that comes down the pike. That's why I created the Marshall Plan 15 years ago. We have done over 100 of these plans for clients, helping them to get out of their day-to-day routine to identify their goals, solidify their brand story, focus in on their ideal customer avatar, analyze their strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats, and create a realistic budget and measurement dashboard. We create the Marshall Plan collaboratively with our clients over the course of 3 months. We have a 65-step process to create a highly customized, actionable plan. And it's not like we come in and say, we are the consultants from away and we know everything. Instead, we come in and say, let's sit down at the table with your leadership team and we'll bring our expertise in what's working in PR and marketing. And our client team brings their knowledge of what's working in their organization. And together, we come up with a really amazing plan. For many, it's been a transformative process. I have watched how teams have come together and their faces light up because they have such a sense of accomplishment and they're so excited about the future of their organization. We help our client figure out the best way to implement the plan, sometimes using people within their organization and sometimes with our help. We would love to chat with you about how you can expand your network and achieve your marketing goals with a Marshall Plan. Go to marshallpr.com/MarshallPlan to learn more about the process, or better yet, send me an email at nancy@prmaven.com and we'll set up a time to talk and get started. And now back to our conversation. So now it's time for our book and things to do pad giveaway. Like, we have these amazing pads, and Kurt, you might just happen to be getting one in the mail as a thank you for being on today's podcast. But for PR Maven Nation, if you want to win a copy of my book, PR Works, which happens to be available on Amazon.com, and a PR Maven Nation Things to Do Today pad, which is highly coveted by members of PR Maven Nation, go to prmaven.com/giveaway and enter today to be our next winner. And now we get back to our conversation with Kurt Kleidon, who's president of Kleidon Associates in Akron, Ohio. I want to dive right back in with more questions. Kurt, how do you measure success in PR, social media, and marketing for your clients?
Well, success can be measured a lot of different ways. We do have a lot of traditional for-profit businesses, and when you look at that, it can be as simple as sales goals. We had a campaign running just a couple of weeks ago for one of our clients, and it was primarily the push was on social media to get the word out there. They doubled their sales from last year, and we spent less, but we spent it in a smart way, and so that's simple. A simple way to measure success right there is up in the sales. But for some of our nonprofit clients, that can really just be a matter of looking at the entire picture, how we can move the needle on their brand. We can take a look and see how familiar someone may be with a certain entity. We've run campaigns on problem gambling before. One of our clients that works in the behavioral health unit has a unit or a component of their business where they help people that have a problem with gambling, and that's not a simple thing to try to impact overnight, as particularly. So, looking at on the long term, how can we establish their brand a little bit more, but letting people know that there may be services like this available for them.
Well, I think that's awesome that you were able to double sales with spending less money. I think a lot of clients would be attracted to that. But then, as you said, problem gambling and other behaviors like that are complex. And if you can figure out a strategy to help a client to uh, attract more clients or to attract more donors, that's really great too. So hats off to Kleidon and Associates for that.
Well, it comes back to the storytelling aspect of it. When you're not trying to sell something, when it's not just a matter of awareness, then you have to be able to give someone something to hang on to, and that comes down to what we did in that campaign is we told the stories of how someone gets into a problem like that. It's not, it's not like it's probably not like a drug addiction in the same way where you try something and you may get hooked onto that. It's something that continues over time, and you don't understand how that's gradual kind of thing may happen. So you have to tell that story about how they can affect someone and their family.
Well, and along those lines, I wanted to ask you about networks of fans, followers, friends. And, sometimes people, I think, get into groups of people that might go to casinos or do other behaviors like going to bars and things that might not be in their best interest. But I want to talk to you about networks of fans and followers online or in person. And have you built your own network of fans and followers? And has it been a conscious goal or has it been something that happened on its own?
Well, I haven't necessarily built a network of fans. I guess I wish I was more popular, but uh,
You're popular in
we
my
all do,
book,
right?
Kurt.
But I am by no means an extrovert in the same sense that you are, Nancy. And so what I do on, as we talk about the network and who you connect with, I work so much better when I connect people on a one-to-one basis, and I keep it tight and I keep it strong. So I'll get, who knows, a dozen different LinkedIn connections per week. And if I don't know someone, or at least I have some sort of connection to what they may be doing, I won't accept that. I'm not about just having big numbers. I'm about having those strong connections that at some point down the road you can call on, whether you can help them or they can help you, so that there's something meaningful that happens there. I'm almost, our agency, my whole, I guess, brand, if you will, is really about quality first.
I like that. I think that's a very good point because we all don't need to be like the Kardashians and have millions and millions of followers, but rather to have a strong connection and a strong relationship. That's much more valuable in my book. So
It
I
doesn't work
admire
for
you for that, Kurt.
Well, thank you. And I say it doesn't work for everyone, but I think it just needs to match your personality.
Well, I think of John Lee Dumas, who is a native Mainer, and he was a guest on this podcast. And of course, he has a very famous podcast called Entrepreneurs on Fire. And he always talks about how you are the six people that you spend the most time with, that those six people that you spend the most time with kind of form your personality and your life. So to have strong relationships, and people who inspire and motivate and support you is really important in this frenzied life that we lead.
Yeah, I like that connection to that idea of six people. I wouldn't want to be number seven, but if you're in the top six, that's
Yeah, right. You're right. um, and I think of our network group called AMI Plus in the Agency Management Institute, um, and that is a strong network that supports both of us. I wanted to ask, how has your network helped to advance your career?
well. I think my network has probably allowed me to see the different opportunities out there. Yeah, it's not always a direct connection for career success, but I think I can see what other people are doing that allows me to either do my job better, allows me to open some doors. Possibly, that's one of the great things is the network's not there just to benefit you. If you can help your friend in whatever they need to get accomplished, that's a great thing. And so I try to look, I guess, as a holistic view of what you can use these people to do to help connect each other, to help make some sort of connection or some sort of synergy between folks.
I know that's one of the things that gives me the greatest pleasure in my life is when I can introduce people to each other and have something wonderful happen as a result of an introduction.
Isn't
That
it great when there's that aha moment and they're like,
yeah, it's like,
"This is
oh
this is
wow,
awesome."
I can't wait to introduce you to someone. So yeah, thanks for bringing that up. So Kurt, is there a resource such as a book, a website, or an app that you have found helpful in your career and why?
Gosh, I've read so many books, and I hesitate to narrow down to one that has made a big difference to me. Um, so I I don't know. I really this is one where I don't like to answer it necessarily. Sorry, I'm gonna give a little letdown because for me it's always what's new and what's changing out there. And I actually when you said is there an app that has made a difference? Um, I find a new one pretty much every month that I somehow integrate, or at least I kind of understand what they're doing. Um, for example, when I started getting into podcasts, that was a big game changer in my mind for how you can communicate a message. I had a friend of mine that got me started onto podcasts, and I said, I've got to understand this and launch my own. So I actually got into the podcast game um, quite a few years back. I think this was maybe 2012, something like that. And I launched a podcast called the Norca News. And I was inspired by a podcast out there called Welcome to Night Vale, which it's a great podcast for any people out there that like kind of an X Files with a little bit of humorous twist to it. It's off the wall, but it's good storytelling. But it's one of those things that you said to me, I've got to do this myself. So we had some fun with that. But I guess to answer the question, find what really inspires you, and then try to either do your own version of it or take it whatever direction that you feel is comfortable.
I like that advice. And do you have advice for someone who's just starting out in their career?
This is a fun question because we have a very strong internship program here at our company. So I see a lot of college students and folks that are on that cusp of starting their careers. The ones, the ones that really strike me as that I know they're going to be successful are the ones that don't say no to anything when there's a project that comes up and they may have absolutely no idea how to approach it. The ones that will just jump right in and learn how to do something, show that enthusiasm for it. Those are the ones that I know are going to succeed. We're living in this era where something like SEO, for example. I'm sure there are classes you can take on SEO at this point, but most of us that have been in this industry for a while, we just Google searched it, researched it, followed different channels online so that we could learn and figure out how to do these things the best way. And there's so much self-learning that you can do. So when you come into that mindset, you say, well, I can pretty much do anything as long as I put the research in to begin with. It doesn't matter if you're starting your career or you're at the end of your career, you've got the tools available to do just about anything you want.
Well, I'm glad you brought that up actually, because Charlene Williams is someone who has worked for me for over 25 years. And from the moment I met her and to this day, she is someone who always will learn whatever she needs to learn. She just figures it out. And I can see her mind working, if something comes up during the day and she doesn't quite know what it is, the next day, I know she'll have researched it and she has figured it out. And actually, in tourism and hospitality, public relations, today she's a national expert, and it's because of that insatiable curiosity that she has, and she too is really competitive, so she wants to be sure she knows. So I like that advice, and I also am glad you brought up the word enthusiasm, because that is one of the trademarks of my career. I think that enthusiasm trumps a lot of other qualities in the workplace. So thanks for mentioning that. And Kurt, what is one parting thought you'd like to share with PR Maven Nation today?
Well, as we're talking about doing your homework ahead of time, I think that is, for anyone listening to this, whatever kind of decisions you need to make, whether it's sharing a post or understanding something about a topic, double, triple check everything these days. It's so important to approach whatever you're doing with a little bit of hesitation and just a little bit more insight. And I don't want to get political with it, but we look at the information that is out there, and I think we just need to digest that a little bit more carefully. And you can tie that in with your career, certainly, and find the best ways of approaching a tackle a problem out there, or you can approach it to just how you interact with people. And one of the ways you can do that is, if we're talking a lot about networking as well, do that research ahead of time. I'm sure that you do this, Nancy, but if I'm going to a meeting, I'm going to do a little bit of LinkedIn creeping on the people I'm meeting with. There's some cool tools out there so that you can see, and this does get a little creepy, where you can see how you talk to people, how you can connect with people, what kind of approach they like to make an impression, or at least to have a good conversation with them. But yeah, I think it's become expected. It's no longer Facebook creeping, or call it what you will. It's really just doing your research.
What is that tool that you use on how to talk to people?
It's called Crystal. You set up your personality profile on there. You can connect it with your profile on LinkedIn, and then other people that are on there, you can look up someone that you connect with, and then or not even connect with, just an individual that you may be meeting with, and it says this is the type of person they are. This is the way that you can best communicate with them, and actually kind of have a meaningful conversation.
Very interesting. I like that.
Yeah, it's worth checking out.
So, Kurt, as always, my final question is to help PR Maven Nation connect with you. What are some of the best ways our listeners can get in touch with you and Kleidon and Associates?
Well, you can always check out our Kleidon Associates website, which is Kleidon.com, and Kleidon is spelled Kleidon. There's no extra N in there. People say Kleidon, and then I kind of have this little chill go down my spine. So it's that's our company. But you can also look me up on Facebook or LinkedIn, and there are no other Kurt Kleidons in the world that I know of, so I'm pretty easy to find.
And it's Kurt with a K.
It is, of course. Thank you.
Well, Kurt, thanks for joining us today. It's been such a pleasure. It's been so interesting, and I look forward to seeing you at our next AMI Plus meeting. That's part of the Agency Management Institute. And I hope everyone listening has a great day. So thanks for joining us, PR Maven Nation. That's it for this week's episode. I'd like to thank you for listening, and if you feel that you've gotten value out of today's conversation, consider leaving a 5-star review on iTunes or whatever app you're using to tune in. If you haven't subscribed yet, you should do so. I release a new episode each week, and subscribing will make sure you get an alert when there's a new episode. You can also join the PR Maven Nation by going to prmaven.com/nation and clicking join. It's free and it's a great community of like-minded individuals who are all looking to learn and grow from one another. If you have an Alexa-enabled device, be sure to add the PR Maven Marketing Minute to your daily flash briefing menu. Thanks again for listening and have a great rest of your week, PR Maven Nation.